Alex Pereira versus Rountree. And I had to give a long pause on that one to really emphasize the fact that this matchup is a surprise. But is it really? Because the reality of the so-called competitive architecture that you yearn for in the UFC doesn't really exist. But what they do have is sort of this roster that is vast in every weight class, and for a good reason. Number one, the UFC has to pump out a lot of content on a monthly, yearly basis, weekly basis, on top of the fact that they have to put out content that is related to the matches that is upcoming, whether it's a fight night or whether it's an international event or a pay-per-view or all of the above, because there are events that are international pay-per-views and special super fights all rolled into one. There's events like that. But most events are either one of the three that I had just mentioned. Well, that is very demanding, considering the fact that the UFC is being incentivized to put out content for ESPN, because what ESPN sees out of it is creating highlights, and not only that, adding those highlights into the vast library that they have in their sporting catalog that is within their app systems. So as a result, you got to build a bigger roster. And by the way, way bigger than in the context of what you understand the UFC's roster to be if you were a fan in the 2000s. Or better yet, maybe even in the late 90s or early 90s if you really went back that far. But for me, I can tell you my first experience with MMA was in the late 90s. I understood MMA for what it was. It was adding grappling with striking, and growing up doing taekwondo and wrestling, it was a perfect fit, although I never really trained jiu-jitsu until maybe 2009 or 2010 when I moved out in Sacramento, from the East Coast of Sacramento. But that's neither here or there. So a lot of people are complaining why this matchup is going on. They don't like it. And for the reason being that, well, you want to talk about integrity within a competitive architecture, many people would put Ankalaev on top of that list. So why is he not fighting then? Well, this is where the UFC needs that vast roster of people. We're talking about 500 in comparison to, let's say, they had maybe 10 guys per weight class in the 90s to the 2000s. And then when Spike came along and other TV deals, maybe the roster got bigger and bigger. And now 2024, we're talking about a 500 to 600 man roster, of which they cut guys on a daily and a weekly and this and that. You can follow, I believe it was a page called UFC Roster Watch. I believe that's what it's called, but they let you know the guys that are signed and the guys that are being let go, and it'll give you a perspective of what it means to be just another meat in the grind of things, right? Or I'm not really sure what the expression is on that. But understand this. Rountree, a lot of people don't like this matchup. For one, because of Ankalaev. They believe that Ankalaev should be fighting, but why is he not fighting? Again, various reasons. Visa issues, perhaps maybe issues on not being able to make a certain date or not make a certain contract, or maybe disgruntled with pay or contract negotiations. It could be a various amounts of things that only I can speculate for your own entertainment, but in reality don't really have the true answers, because right now it is being discussed behind closed doors as to why he didn't get the fight. And there's, once again, multiple reasons that is very difficult to point at one particular culprit. And the reality is that Khalil Rountree is a great matchup for Alex Pereira. Not only that, it's favorable towards Alex Pereira. It's going to give him a tune-up of some sort. But at the same time, here's something you got to understand. Khalil Rountree is also an exciting fighter. But Alex Pereira is a big star right now, and one can argue that they're giving him these easy fights to build his career up more, or just literally sustain the amount of output and the amount of activity that Alex Pereira wishes to do. And again, in this business of combat sports, you can never really pinpoint out one reason or another as to why one fight is happening over another. But these are the speculations that I'm giving you, and I hope that we're going to continue on with this story with more information as the days go on. Inshallah. Don't forget to like and subscribe.